regardless of where they come from. Now, how it is different from equity. We have a very renowned resource person here to go into the depth and tell us what equity is as compared to equality, because these words, by themselves, I feel have a lot of meaning to them. And how it is different is what we need to understand if at all we need to proceed in higher education. And we being in higher education, we should understand this. So equality is where everybody gets the same rights. Equity is about the resources, how they get. So something I will not delve into more of that, because we have an expert here who's going to say that to us, who is going to tell. I would only like to just touch upon one small aspect, which is where should all this equity and equality begin from? Where should it start from? Now of course, we are going to touch upon the equity in higher education, but as I feel, see, this aspect of equality and all, as Niriksha has already said, speaking about the SDGs, there are 17 SDGs, all are very interrelated, interconnected. And it is the UN which thought that if at all the world needs to progress, each country, this thing will have to work on these 17 SDGs. And who should work? So the responsibility, the onus came upon the educational institutions, because they are the ones who are toning the minds of so many young people. They are trying to, frame how the students think and all that. So the onus of carrying these 17 SDGs, it came on the shoulders of the higher education institutions. And I'm glad to tell you, Dr. Veena, in our university, we have coordinators for all 17, and all are really working one against the other to see that we do some progress, we do bring about these changes, we try to do something. And all for them, the leader, as she said, is Dr. Smita Hegde, who is who has been designated as a nodal person for these particular things. And then we do have Dr. Harsha and Dr. Ashutosh working along as a team with these people. So this is as far as how we are going. Now, coming back to where to start. Personally, I feel the equality and the equity should start very close to us in very small places, that is our homes. Now, in many times we see in India especially, we have seen that unfortunately we have come a very long way, but still the goalpost is very far. We see how the differences are made between a girl and a boy. Within among the boys only there will be one very pet favorite, this one, and some others are not. The way they are given the thing, the girl is said, no, you do this thing and then you go to school. You do this work and then you go. The boy is just let free, which is again leading to so many aspects. So that equality about whether it's a girl, a boy, whether it is a fair girl who's very nice or a fair boy who's nice, a darker girl gets less importance. All these things, right at home, we have to start to see that the equality aspect, the equity aspect, all these are practiced right from home, right from a small, tender age. The children are given to understand what this is, so that as they proceed, all those things that we see many times, what we see today about the harassment, this, that, everything, it starts right from a very tender age. They would have seen those things. So that is what the children imbibe. So I feel the equality, equity, starting of that has to be very close to our places, very small places, our homes. So that is where I feel I should I just wanted to mention that. But the more detailed things, I'm sure today's talk by Dr. Veena Santosh Rai, who's Associate Professor in the Department of Masters of Business Administration, Srinivas Institute of Technology, will be very thought-provoking and inspiring to you all. And once again, would like to congratulate Dr. Niriksha from Conservative Department, and Dr. Meghana from the Pediatric and Preventive Dentistry Department of ABSMIDS for organizing this webinar. I hope all of you will have a wonderful webinar, a very good inputs, and a very productive webinar. and you get a lot of takeaways from this particular webinar. All those participants where this is being live streamed, all those who have logged in, who are hearing, I request all of you, please take these things very seriously. You try to implement and practice these things, because until we practice, all these webinars will be just talks, will be just this thing, but nothing, until it is put to practice, nothing becomes meaningful. So I once again congratulate all of you, and thank you very much for inviting me to give the opening remarks. And thank you once again. Thank you. Diksha, you're muted.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for your kind words. Your words are really, we get so boosted with these things to do more work. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your kind words. And now I request my fellow coordinator, Dr. Meghna, to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Veena Santosh.
A very good morning to all. I deem it a great privilege to introduce our eminent speaker for the day, Dr. Veena Santosh Rai. Dr. Veena completed her LLB from Vivekananda Law College, Puttur, after which she went on to pursue her LLM from Manasa Gangotri, Mysore, and PhD from VTU, Belgavi. She's currently working as Associate Professor in Srinivas Institute of Technology, Valachil. She's been an active member and coordinator for various committees in her institutions, which includes anti-ragging, anti-sexual harassment, and many more. Having secured gold medal in her master's, Dr. Veena also has several national and international publications to her credit. Her interest area mainly includes business and labor law, marketing, HR, and international law. Her knowledge and insight in the above areas makes her an apt resource person for this event. So, ma'am, we are very delighted to have you with us, and we are eager to, have more learning experience from you and know more facts about this. These interesting your interest areas. So over to you, ma'am.
A very good morning. Good morning, ma'am, Niriksha and Dr. Meghna. And first of all, I want to thank you for taking time and being here and making a part of your institution to take up a concept called as equity and equality. Actually, when Niriksha approached me, I was completely packed with my college work. I told Niriksha, I'll be sending some students of mine where they will be coming and they'll be presenting. There are very good advocates. Later, she told me that, no, you have to take up, ma'am. So whatever work is given to Niriksha, she will be like giving her 100%. If I give a small responsibility, she'll be doing it with wholeheartedness. So I thought that I can't tell no to her. And one more thing is, I'm into management subjects now, like law subjects, which were in the books. So when I started preparing my slides, or when I started gathering information about equality and equity, I went back to 19 years. Okay, where I did my master's in constitution law. I was enjoying a lot. What I study or what I access knowledge in law, that cannot be got in management. Management is a term which is very simple, managing everything in a very good manner. Law means exploring, interpreting, giving meaning, then analyzing various things. So when I was preparing, like as I told you, it was very nostalgic when I was studying. And actually our teachers who were there, my professors and all, the first homework which they gave us was studying the preamble of Indian Constitution. It was so tough and so confused. The entire very good qualities from various constitutions of the world has been put in one page. So many things. For example, human rights has been taken from UK, individual rights of the people has been taken from USA, then German, whatever good qualities were there, all those things were searched and they were compiled together and was put in one sheet where we had to study those things. And whole night we were studying and we were not knowing the actual meaning, interpretation, how the case laws might be and all. So later on, when we put flesh and blood to those words which are there in the preamble, it has lots and lots of meanings. So today, I will try my level best to convince you regarding what is equity and what is equality, and what are the various steps which would be taken by an higher educational institution to see there is equality and equity among their students, among their colleagues, overall how it can be managed. Anyway, we can't rewrite the constitution. We can't rewrite the mindset of the people. Equality and equity should start from our heart. Okay, so the day we think that we will manage everything in a very beautiful manner, that will give the real meaning to the equality and equity. So shall we start our presentation? Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much. Are my slides visible? Can you see my slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. So today I'll be concentrating mainly on difference between equality and equity. First thing what I want to tell you is these terms are like an ocean. So narrowing down and putting it within a framework is a very difficult concept, and I'll try my level best to see to it that you will be understanding and knowing the concepts or major difference between these two components. And later I'll be speaking about the need for equity in an higher educational institution. So first, an insight to equality and equity. There is a common misconception among difference between equity and equality, as they are used interchangeably, and we think that they have the same meaning whenever we are discussing about the concepts. Now we'll see what is meant by equality. So, equality is a situation where each and every individual is granted same rights and responsibility irrespective of their individual differences. So here they will not differentiate any people, even our constitution. It will be seeing to it that all the people are getting the equal rights. Their preferences are not same. Equality is the lifeline of our nation and of a democratical society. The central idea of equality is that all the individuals get equal treatment in the society and are not discriminated on the basis of race, sex, caste, creed, nationality, disability, age, religion, and so forth. So initially, the concept of equity was not there. They thought that when equally each and every people are treated, that is enough. But later on, this equity cropped up slowly. So now we'll see what is meant by equity. Equity refers to the fairness, justice, impartiality, and even-handedness among each and every step whichever we are taking, and recognizes that each person has different circumstances and allocates the exact resources and opportunity needed to reach an equal outcome. So equality, it is like giving the same rights to each and every people, whereas equity is recognizing what are the necessity of each individual and accordingly giving him whatever he wants. So equity is an elusive social goal which allows government to offer all type of justification when they fall short, whereas equality is a human right and therefore possesses legal obligation. So whenever equality is not followed, legal obligation comes into operation. Whenever equity is not maintained, it will be an ethical issue. Even the law will be giving justification for the same. Now, equity demands fairness in every situation. That is, whether it is distribution of benefits or burden, for whom, how much ever the benefits and burdens can be given. So, people are treated fairly, but differently as their circumstances are given weightage. Now, I'll just highlight the definition given by some of the authors where we can like divide what is meant by equality and what is meant by equity. Martin Bronfenbrenner said, despite their phonetic similarity and philological connection, they are quite distinct from each other. The equality of a distribution of income or wealth is basically a matter of fact and is therefore basically objective in nature. Please note, equality will be always objective in nature. See how in your medical terms, if at all, if I want to tell, all of you are considered as dentists, doctors. But wherever the equity is like that, where you will go into specializations. What person wants what type of treatment, that will be given according to your special skill. In the same way, equality will be it will be like we can tell that it is overall recognizing the people equally. And equity is giving a person what he doesn't have. That is called as equity. The equity of the same distribution is basically matter of ethical judgment. Ethically seeing the person who is hungry more, giving more, give him more. Okay, the person who doesn't want a food, let him wait for some time. So we can tell that equity is recognizing what is your necessity in the society and giving same to you. And therefore, it is basically subjective in nature. Equality is objective in nature and equity is subjective in nature. One more definition, Dr. Cawson in 2001 came up with his view regarding what is meant by equality and equity. The term equality basically means the absence of special privilege to any section of the society. So treat everyone equally, treat women and men equally, don't make any discrimination. That is the main meaning of equality, and the provision of adequate opportunity for all individuals without any discrimination. It is an overall viewpoint. The equity concept is associated with fairness and justice. I told you, equity should start from our heart. Provision of education or other benefits, and it takes individual circumstances to be considered. So who needs what has to be identified first. Accordingly, the equity, the person who are people who are underprivileged, for them giving much more importance, bringing them up, that leads to equity. I hope now you can differentiate what is meant by equality. Equality is giving no discrimination in the society as a whole, whereas equity goes in depth and it will be telling that give the person what he doesn't have and uplifting the same person. Now, again, the concept of equity and equality, a careful analysis of above cited definition makes it clear that the term equity refers to the system of justice and fairness, and under which the individual needs, interest, and requirements are taken into account and treated accordingly. So what you don't have, giving you the same thing and giving whatever you deserve. Therefore, people are treated fairly but differently as their circumstances are giving due importance. Equality is a system where everyone is treated in an identical way without giving any attention to their needs and requirement. Equity is thus a situation in which each and every individual is granted the same thing, rights and facilities irrespective of their individual differences. So here there's an example of equality and equity. Equality is giving everyone one shoe. Okay, equity is giving everyone a shoes that fits. So what you deserve, that will be given to you in equity. Equality is grant of everything with in common to each and every person. So balancing equality and equity leads to justice, which is the need of our society. Now, what is the main purpose of equality and equity? Equality aims to ensure that everyone gets the same thing in order to enjoy full, healthy lives. On the other hand, equity involves trying to understand and give people what they need to enjoy healthy life. Sometimes these terms are used in an interchangeable manner, which leads to confusion. Now we'll see what is the difference between equity and equality. See, justness and fairness is the manner of treating individual are called as equity. Again, I'm repeating. Equality is what we call the state where everyone is at the same level. Equity is a process while equality is an outcome. So in order to maintain equality, in order to see that equality is maintained within the society, equity is a weapon. Equity is the necessary condition to fulfill to achieve the later. So equity should be taken care so that the aim of equality will be fulfilled by the organization. While equity represents impartiality, equal distribution is made in such a way to even opportunity for all the people. Conversely, equality indicates uniformity, where everything is evenly distributed among people as a whole. In equity, all the people can access whatever they need. In equality, in contrast, all the people get the same thing, right resource and opportunity for them. So now, as I'm basically from a law background, like there's a saying that ignorance of law is not excusable, whereas ignorance of fact is excusable. Please note, ignorance of, we can't tell that I didn't know that killing him was a wrong thing. You have killed, you have a punishment for the same. Whereas you can tell that I didn't know this fact. That is excusable, whereas not knowing a law, being a citizen of India is considered to be penalized. Okay, they will be punished for the same. So basic knowledge of law is a duty of every citizen of the nation as a whole. Therefore, we'll see how this equity is carried forward and how the law recognizes the equity. Equity is a separate system of law from the common law. We do see, actually, we have two types of law, criminal law and civil law. Civil law discusses whenever the rights of any individual, civil rights of any individual is violated, whereas criminal law is you have done a irreparable loss to an individual where you will be punished severely. In case of civil law, civil courts will be taking care of. In case of criminal matter, the criminal court will be taking care of. And the punishment for all these things will be in IPC, Indian Penal Code, which will be telling this offense leads to this punishment. Therefore, whenever it comes to equity, equity is always guarded by the common law of the country. It has different rules, principles, and remedies compared to the civil and criminal laws. Now, the principles of law of equity, this is the thing which we must know. The body of law of equity is preserved in the 12 maxims. Okay, so maxims are the Latin terms which discusses why certain laws are there for certain consequences. These maxims are general principles adopted to administer justice and fairness among the people. They govern the law of equity. So, law of equity is governed by 12 legal maxims. We'll see what are they. First is, equity will not suffer a wrong to be without remedy. So whenever the maxim run like this, the Latin term ubi jes ibi remedium, which means where there's a right, there's a remedy. So this is the strongest maxim which makes the person to go to any court of law and tap the doors of law court, telling that these are the injustice done to me. Here I have a right, so you have to give me the remedy. So the first important maxim which safeguards the right to equity is right has its remedy. So we cannot go on telling that I have this right, I have that right, but these rights, when it is infringed or violated by someone, it has a remedy. The maxim states that in situation where common law confers a right, it also gives a remedy for infringement of the right. So when any person finds that he is not getting the required facility, resources, which has to be given to him or her, he can tap the doors of justice. They have a complete right over it. So what are the remedies available for the violation of right to equity? The law of equity states that injunction and specific performance of the act. See, whatever the other party had to do to you, in order to put you in the right position, that must and should be done by the parties. The court will order them to do, give him the privileges. give her the rights, see to it that they will be enjoying the same. Injunction is the second important remedy available for the violation of right to equity, that is stopping the other person from doing wrong things to you where you will be put down. So these are the, please note this is very important, these are the very important remedies which are available for equity. Violation of equity. So the law of equity is always guarded with the maxims, as I told you. Therefore, it has to be seen that these are the remedies which are given to the people. One is injunction and specific performance of the act. Injunction is stopping the opposite party from doing something which brings you down. Okay, specific performance means like asking the people who have violated our equity right to do something where we are put in an equitable position. So this is the basic foundation upon which we are carrying forward our discussion. Now equity follows the law. I told you law always will be safeguarding the right to equity of the people. This maxim lays down that equity supplements law and does not supersede it. So law is everything for us. Whenever there's a clash between a law and a right to equity, law prevails. Law is already there, but people start telling that my right to equity has been infringed. Under such circumstances, only the law will be prevailing. The discretion of the court is governed by law and equity, which are subservient to one another. It should go in complementary and supplementary to each other. The equity and law should see that they are not clashing with each other. Whenever there's a clash between right to equity and the law of the nation, the law will be prevailing. Third maxim, he who seeks equity must do equity. So the person who wants equity, and he himself should be always doing equity to others. This is third important maxim of equity. It states that the plaintiff is also subject to the power of the court and is thus obligated to perform his duty following the principle of equity. See, the person who takes a matter to the court of law is called as plaintiff in civil matters, and the person who has done something wrong is called as the defendant. So therefore, any person taking the case to the court of law must and should do equity to the other person also. Then he who comes to equity must come with a clean hand. Okay, he should not be a culprit. He should not be a wrongdoer. He should be a person who comes to the court of law in a clean hand. This doctrine relates to the past conduct of the parties and states that persons who come to the court seeking equity must not have involved in any inequitable act himself in the past. He should not have a case in the court of law, and he should be a person with clean history. Delay defeats equity. So whenever we find that our right to equity has been infringed by anyone, we have to see to it that we are approaching the court of law at the earliest. This is very, very important. No one can sleep over his rights. You know that you have a right. It's okay, I'll file the case after 6 months. No. You have to knock the door of the justice at the earliest. This is the fifth important maxim upon which the right to equity is based. Equity assists the vigilant and not those who sleep on their rights. Unnecessary delay in bringing forth a claim is known as laches. In case of law, whenever you don't do your duty or when you sleep over your rights, that is called as laches. Laches may also result from dismissal of the claim. I don't want, it's okay, you tell. And after 1 year, if you are knocking the doors of the court of law will be strictly considering these matters. Ultimately, equality is equity. So, as I told you, like differentiating equality and equity is very important. Unless we do this, we will not be in a position to see the major difference between equality and equity. So ultimately, equality is equity because through the equity, we want to achieve equality in the society. So equity is a weapon in the hand of a person to see that equality is maintained in the society. The ordinary law may give one party advantage over the other, but the court of equity, wherever possible, puts the party on an equal footing. Equity looks to the intent rather than the form. So instead of this has to be done, that has to be done, instead of telling that, they will see what is the intention of the same. What will be the results of the same? So this is the 7th important maxim. Equity looks on that as done which ought to have done. So whenever we go to the court of law, they consider that you have come to the court of law by doing whichever duty which had to be performed by you. This maxim states that in case where individuals are required by law or by agreement to perform any act of legal sequences, equity will regard that act has been done. So when you go to the court of law itself, the court thinks that you have done all your duties, so also you were deprived of this right to equality. Equity imputes an intention to fulfill an obligation. So this maxim means that if a person is obligated to do one act and does another, the act done by him will be taken as a close enough approximate to the fulfillment of the required obligation. So please remember, when we go to the court of law always protects the plaintiff. They think that we have done all our work, so also we were deprived of our rights, so we have knocked the doors of justice. So equity acts in personam. This maxim states that equity applies to a person rather than the property. It is, you cannot take any non-living object as, for example, you have a property dispute. Okay, those things cannot be taken to the court of law. The equity rights will be prevailing in personam. Okay, it is only related to the person. That too, there is a right to personam and right to rem. Right to rem is right against the whole world. Okay, that is not the thing. Whereas in the case of equality, equality is a right which is prevailing in right in rem, right against the world. Whereas equity is an act in personam. We are telling that my dignity was brought down, my feelings were hurt. So therefore, it is a right in personam. 11th one, where the equities are equal, the first in time prevails. So there are so many rights you are claiming and going to the court of law. The first right which was infringed by the other party, that will come into operation. Finally, where the equities are equal, the law will be prevailing. This is very, very interesting. In case neither of the parties have been wrong and both stand at an equitable position, the legal remedy will be prioritized. Other person is also innocent. This person also has not done the wrong. Both of them are standing in an equal footing. Under such situation, whatever decision is given by the court of law will be prevailing. Now, finally, we will see the overview of law related to equity. So, why I spoke about these 12 maxims is the right to equity has got its full form only after in-depth study of these maxims. The decision of equity has been basically based on the judge's discretion and understanding of the fair and just cause. So here, the human values are given utmost importance, rather than what was the law in America, what was the law in England, what was the law in UK. Instead of seeing to those things, always the court of law will see the personal case of each individual, and they will see whether a just and fair decision was given in these cases. Then equity dates back to centuries ago and is still as relevant. So it has a long history. Right to equity has a long history. It came into operation during the time of precedents. Initially, we didn't have any law, we didn't have any courts. Basically, it was the precedents. Based upon the situation and circumstances, the decisions were given. In the same manner, during those periods, the right to equity was prevailing. Now we'll see the importance of equity for justice. Law and equity for justice. Where the rigidity of law threatens justice, equity prevails. See, there is a very straightforward law. If that law is applied, the justice will not be done. Under such situation, equity will be coming into operation because equity has a complete icing of human rights and values. And where equity has no remedy, the letter of law will be followed. So when in simple terms, we can tell that whenever a court of law want to give justice and the terms of law is very rigid, then what happens is the equity will come into operation. The judge will give his opinion that why I have given this decision is mainly because of the human values. But wherever the equity, whenever they want to do equity and justice doesn't prevail, under such circumstances, the law will prevail. Therefore, whenever they want to give justice, it depends on equity and equality, and there is a importance given to the law, whichever is there. Finally, they want to give the decision based upon the human rights as a whole. Now, before entering into the concept regarding the following of equity in higher education, I want to just give a snapshot of the quality of equality of educational opportunity, how to maintain equality in an educational organization. This is regarding equality, where the equity comes in the later stage. Now, University Education Commission in 1948 and 49 retreated this, that each person should have educational opportunity of the kind and to the extent that is suited to his capacity and interest, which represent his fair share of total educational resource. So, why it becomes important for us to know the importance of equity in educational institution is mainly because the University Education Commission itself has came up with a term that whoever want to come up with educational opportunity, he shouldn't be deprived due to inequality in the society. That is the reason why I am before you today. Secondly, the national policy of education also emphasized that equality of education means to provide for equal opportunity to all, not only in access, but also in the conditions for success. So to succeed in the society, we need equal educational opportunity for each and every people. So I'm repeating again, these are the major reasons why we are studying the importance of equity in higher educational institution, mainly the University Education Commission and the National Policy for Education, like they will be always concentrating on these concepts. Why is equity needed in education? India is a democratic and socialistic country. Our constitution also committed to the principle of equality. Equality of opportunity is the trump card of an egalitarian, democratic and socialistic pattern of the society. According to Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, in India, where social and economical inequality is still a cause of deeper concern in all the situations, and equalization of educational facility must be linked to the equity. That is the reason why we are studying about, or why we are knowing, having the knowledge or enhancing our knowledge regarding the role of equity in the educational institution. Education is one, the effective means to which and society can strive for social equality, or at least make an effort to reduce social inequality among their members. It is simply because education promotes social mobility among its members. This will only be made possible if there is a provision for equalization of educational opportunity to all its members, irrespective of caste, religion, gender, location, creed, language, socio-economical status, etc. So, through this education, the social mobility can be possible for each and every person. So it will take him to any peak and all the facilities can be given to him. Education plays an important input in development of human resource in the country. The report of the Indian Education Commission also stated regarding the equalization of educational opportunity. One of the important social objective of education is to equalize opportunity, enabling the backward or underprivileged classes and individuals to use education as a lever for the improvement of their condition. It can be used as a weapon by them. Now, need and importance of equality and equity in education in general. Now, human rights. Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 1 states that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Each and every person is a beautiful creation of God. He has his own SWOT, strength, weakness, opportunity, threat, where actually what is his strength has to be recognized. What is his weakness has to be set right. What are the threats to him has to be suppressed. And what are the opportunity for him should be encouraged. So this should be done by the society, law, nation. Therefore, this is the mantra of our Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Therefore, it tells that each person, the day he is born, he has his dignity, he has his self-respect, he has his right. So therefore, that should be identified by him and the country in which he is there. And the nation has to provide such facility where there will be recognition for his dignity and right. As a sequel to this, the principle of non-discrimination and right to education have been strongly advocated. These two principles gave birth to the concept of equality of opportunity in the education. Therefore, education is considered as the birthright of every individual. It must be provided to all children irrespective of caste, creed, religion, language, sex, and other social stratifications. Depriving any person of education on the ground of religion, race, or class will be denial of human rights. So it is very important. Why education is important? Because it uplifts the social status of an individual. The concept of equality has been real force of socialist idealism through the centuries. Even the preamble of the Constitution states the same and guarantees equality of status of opportunity to all the citizens. Then it leads to success of democracy. Equality is the backbone of democratic society, and it aims to prevent discrimination and provides equal opportunity to all the people. Hence, equality and equity in education are essential for the success of democratic institutions. First of all, education leads to the social upliftment of the person. Secondly, it leads to success of democracy. Then egalitarian society. The Constitution of Democratic India enshrines the concept of egalitarian society in which equality of social justice are cardinal norms. Equal and equitable opportunity for education can ensure the citizen to have equal status in the society. That's why the Education Commission states that equalization of education opportunity is the only guarantee for building up an egalitarian and human society in which the exploitation of weaker section will be minimized. Then it leads to social and economical development. The aim of education in all respect would be developing the individual up to his or her potential as a member of society and therefore leading to development of the society. Then equal and equitable, education is considered to be raising or putting each and every individual up in his economical and social status. Education is the potential pool for empowering people socially and economically. Then this ultimately leads to advancement of the nation. Education is now considered as investment. If people have equal opportunities to get education, they will have a chance to develop their native talent, and this contributes to the progress of the nation. Then education leads to search of talent. Equality and equity in education will thus facilitate the search of talent among all the people of the nation. Such principles provide a wider scope for manifestation of inner potential of human being in tune with aptitude and capacity. Then closer link, equality and equity in education will widen a closer link between requirement of society and the availability of the skilled people. Modernization, equalization of opportunity in education is essential, sought for acting as a catalyst in the process of modernization. Causes of inequality in respect of educational opportunity, which is very, very important. For every problem, we should see what are the reasons or causes. The first important reason is the Indian society is highly stratified and hierarchical based on caste, class, religion, language, and other social stratification. Naturally, there are many barriers in equalizing educational opportunity in India. Absence of national system of education is one more very important reason. The 42nd Amendment of the Constitution of India placed education in the concurrent list. So we have three lists where the laws can be made. One is the central list, state list, and concurrent list. So this education term has been put into the concurrent list, where the freedom has been given both to the state and the central government to make the rules, regulation regarding the same. This is one of the greatest hit to bring equality and equity in the education field. Yet, education remains dominated by individual policies of the state. Difference in the home environment. See, the environment in which a person has grown plays a very crucial role in their development. So difference in home environment of the students creates inequality, gender disparity. Education for girl child is neglected due to gender biasness among the parents, guardians, elders, and the various other people, stakeholders. Then economic status of parent is thus a crucial matter for equalizing educational opportunity among the children. Poverty is one more major reason. Then differential standard of education institution. At present, there is a glaring imbalance of educational development in terms of number of institutions at all level and educational facility in different part of our country. The schools and even colleges in rural and backward area are grossly ill-equipped in terms of number of teachers, scope of multi-subjects, well-equipped library, teaching aid and apparatus. Application of ICT model is also missing. Then students from ill-equipped schools or colleges cannot get scope for admission to an institution such as college, university due to poor performance in terms of marks. The poor exposure of rural children may lead to poor performance. Differences in standard of educational institution ultimately causes inequality in the standard of the students. Then disparity between advantaged and disadvantaged people. A wider disparity of educational development between the advantaged section and disadvantages sections of people causes inequality in the educational opportunity. Then a regional imbalance. Due to the uneven development of educational institutions across India, children are being deprived of equal opportunity for education. Now, finally, we are coming into discussion of what is the necessity for equity in a higher educational institution. So after seeing what is the meaning of equality, what is the meaning of equity, what is the difference between the same, then what is the importance of equality and equality for the nation as a large? We narrowed down our discussion into the importance of equity and equality in educational institution. Then what are the reasons for inequality in the educational institution? Finally, I'm coming into the concept topic which is most awaited, that is the need for equity in a higher educational institution. In higher educational institution, equity refers to ensuring each student receive what they need to be successful through the intentional design of a college experience. So actually, I told you we are a very beautiful creation of God with our own unique character, qualities, strength, weaknesses, and all. Therefore, the organization should see to it that it will, it will enhance the strength or identify the strength of an individual and it student, and it will lead to grow him, help him in his growth. In order to see he will be a successful individual. Indirectly, it will be contributing to the not only the development of the individual student as a whole, but as a development of the nation altogether. Achieving the dream expects college to dismantle the barrier facing underserved students. College must routinely scrutinize structural barriers to equity and invest in equity-minded policies. Organizations have to come up with such policies where the equity is maintained, practices, behavior that lead to success for all the students. Achievement goals among students group reflect structural inequality that are often the result of historical and systematic social injustice. Within 1 hour, we actually cannot go on searching the root cause for inequality, why this happened, why that happened. Instead of that, we have to see what can be done in future to eradicate the same. These inequalities typically manifest themselves as an unintended or indirect consequences of unexamined institutional or social policy. So these matters are not a matter to be debated, discussed, argued and all. Institution, wherever is possible, have to see that how the opportunity can be given to the underprivileged. Achieving the dreams also believes to each person, each student will be coming to an organization with lots of ambitions, with lots of hopes. So the organization have to allow those hopes to be grown. An institution have an obligation to work towards equity for their students. In higher education, equity refers to ensuring that each student receives what they need to be successful through the intentional designing of college experience. So how to stand up for equity in higher education? Finally, what all are the things which can be done by the organization to maintain equity? After all, education system has a long, ugly history of bias, a long line of race, ethnicity, gender and class, a history of quotes, exclusion, favoritism, which isn't over yet. And equal opportunity for all the students participate fully in all educational non-academic opportunities, and actually recognition for deserving students should be a mantra of each institution. At the same time, the real admission scandals, that is a high failure of highly selective higher educational institution to admit more students from low income and underrepresented background, persists despite certain symbolic, cosmetic and performative gesture. It should not be just doing the things for the sake of doing, but they have to see that these underprivileged students with low income, low background will be getting their opportunity. An equal opportunity for all students to participate fully in all educational and non-academic opportunity offered. Such is certainly the case with equity. Equity today implies much more than equal opportunity. It entitles equality of resources, ideas, respect, and outcomes. In education, equity involves acknowledging differences that taking steps to bring all the students to success. Here are some simple, straightforward way to advance equity in any organization for that matters. First is the step 1, conduct an equity audit. Transparency is among the simplest way to drive improvement in higher education. We can correct campus problem that remains invisible. Transparency is the key to institutional accountability. So equity auditing should be taken up by the organization. A more equitable admission system need to be diminish the influence of privileges and connection in admissions, even as it increases access. Then redesigning the admission with an eye towards equity, as I told you. First is coming up with the equity audit step. Secondly, redesigning the admission rules and regulation considering the equity. Then create more equitable and inclusive curriculum. Achieving equity in higher education is educational institution isn't simple as a matter of removing barriers or closing opportunity gaps. It's also about creating a more socially relevant curriculum that acknowledges. One way to do these things is to require students to take courses in diversity. What suits to each person? First and foremost, recognizing the personality of the individual student in his school time. Okay, then seeing what are the things which actually are there his strength, and letting those things grow and allowing him to enjoy and acquire his dream. Then diversity, equity and inclusion, but an attractive alternate is to ensure that every course is culturally responsive. It's also about encouraging and preparing underrepresented students to enter the most important growth area like artificial intelligence, computer sciences, data analytics, machine learning, and neurosciences. And that requires making those fields more attractive and accessible. How? Eliminate, weed out courses and unnecessary requirements. So how to come up with these things? Then place a greater emphasis on activity and applied learning, establish certificate programs, boot camps and data in artificial intelligence and machine learning oriented minors and joint majors to reach underdeserved students. Then make pedagogy and assets in the classes, equity and inclusion requirement much more intentionality and an approach that is holistic and multi-pronged and includes changes in pedagogy, academic support and assessment. Place less emphasis on rote memorization and more on hands-on session in the class activity. Pay greater attention to skill building and problem solving. Then assessment too needs to be viewed through an equity lens. Very important. Assessing higher order thinking and skills application rather than memorization. Use authentic project inquiry challenges and problem-based assignments rather than standard exams to assess mastery of essential skills and knowledges. Have students undertake activities that emphasize skill development. Provide, promote, and personalized feedback. Collect the feedback from the students without any discrimination and give them what actually they need. Make sure expectations are crystal clear. Apart from reducing achievement gaps, these approaches also has the added advantage of deterring the academic dishonesty. Make the students experience more on the equity and equality rights. Often campus responses genuine commitment to equity calls for well-intentioned policy that undercut an instructor's ability to read the classroom, respond to confusion and misunderstanding, and bring all the students into discrimination. True equity entitles disrupting and dismantling systematic inequality. It makes instructors responsible for providing clear guidance on what it takes to succeed, sharing the secret of notes taking, efficient reading and processing, retaining, retrieving, and applying the information to students without any inequality. Finally, our society faces several intellectual and moral imperatives to incorporate the perspective and contributions of the historical underrepresented into curriculum, to diversify participation in organizational discipline, and to bring many more students to the Finally, equity means something more. When it comes to higher education, it has to pressurize the institution to live up to their merit, diversity, inclusivity, and opportunities, justness, fairness, impartiality, and even-handedness and transparency should be the mantra which should be carried forward by each higher education institution, which leads to equity and equality, and the ultimate result of the same will be the progress of the nation as a whole. So finally, as I told you, why we are discussing these concepts is mainly because we have a duty to know all these things, and like ignorance of these laws is not at all an excuse. So finally, thank you. If you have any doubt or any questions, please feel free to ask the same.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was such a beautiful presentation. Even though these words are commonly heard, like equity and equality, we did not know what is actually the difference between these. You mentioned that equality is no discrimination in general, but equity should start from our heart and thus associated with fairness or justice, and that is given to a particular person. Also, equality is just giving one shoe to everybody, and equity is giving a shoe that fits. So, which clearly, that example clearly says what equality and what equity. And also, you mentioned about every individual knowing the basic laws of our constitution, and also how an institution should help students in growing and helping materializing their dreams once we join in any institution. Also, you said ignorance of the fact is okay, but ignorance of the law is not acceptable. Ma'am, we are extremely grateful for your time and your effort that you've put in preparing for this presentation. From On behalf of the Nitte University, A.B.Shetty Memorial Institute of Dental Science, and the Staff Development Center, we are grateful to you and your time and for this excellent presentation. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And all the people present here who have logged in, please fill in the feedback form in the chat box through YouTube. Also, my fellow coordinator, Dr. Meghna, will be presenting the vote of thanks.
It gives me immense pleasure to propose vote of thanks and acknowledge the contribution of all who supported us in making this event possible. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our Honorable Registrar, Professor Dr. Alka Kulkarni, for taking time out of a busy schedule and gracing the occasion. Thank you, ma'am. I would like to thank our resource person for the day, Dr. Veena Santosh Rai, for accepting our invite in such short notice and enlightening us with the knowledge on equity and equality. Thank you, ma'am. I would also like to express a sincere thanks to Professor Dr. Smita Hegde, SCG Coordinator, Nitte DU, for being so kind in guiding us throughout this event. Thank you, ma'am. And a special mention to our beloved principal, Professor Dr. U.S. Krishnanai, for encouraging and supporting us in all our endeavors. Thank you, sir. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of proactive and dedicated staff development center led by Mrs. Sadhna Deshmukh, and of course our IT team, without whose support this event wouldn't have been possible. Last but not the least, a big thank you to all the participants for their patient listening and cooperation. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Can I leave the meet?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.